this is how you do it. You know I'm all about game preservation and being able to play some classic games on modern systems, and Capcom has done just that with a brand new Mega Man Zero/ZX collection. I played it on the Switch, but it's available for other platforms as well. And I gotta tell you, it felt fantastic to be able to play Game Boy Advance and Nintendo DS games on my Nintendo Switch, and I hope that this is the beginning of a tidal wave of fantastic collections and re-releases of Game Boy Advance games and DS games. I think that'd be incredible. Honestly, it's a great fit. Even though we're looking at stuff that's a little bit pixelated and a little bit lower res, the graphics and the detail and the animations are pretty damn wonderful. Mega Man Zero takes place after the Mega Man X games, which were on the Super Nintendo. This is a kind of a sub-story to the Mega Man myth, where we've got a different Mega Man character named Zero, who we saw in Mega Man X. He's awakened about 100 years after the events of Mega Man X by this little scientist lady named Ciel, and she's part of this resistance force that's fighting these Reploids, which are robots. So the humans and the robots are not getting along, and you join up with these freedom fighters that are trying to, take back Neo Arcadia, this city, and you're fighting and you're trying to fight all of these big evil bosses, and they have sub-bosses, in the vein of all of the Mega Man games. And you're acquiring new abilities, and you're collecting all of these little cyber elf abilities as well. Some of them are passive, and some of them you activate, so they'll heal you or they'll give you some extra weaponry and stuff. And that kind of follows along across all 4 of the Mega Man Zero games, but they change up some of the mechanics a little bit, some of the weaponry, and the way that some of the items are doled out. And also, the first Mega Man Zero game has a very kind of loose structure to it, where you can go back into areas that you've completed missions in and sort of retraverse and, collect new power-ups and little secrets and things like that. You're constantly being rated and judged based on how fast you complete things and the weapons that you use and how fast you beat the bosses. There's a lot of memorization, and it's incredibly difficult, which is kind of par for the course with Mega Man titles. They change things up as they go along with Mega Man Zero, 2, and 3, and 4, where it's a little bit more akin to the classic Mega Man boss structure, where you know what mission you're going on, you know what boss you're going to fight, and you can kind of assume what kind of new abilities you're going to be able to acquire and pick up. There's also elemental abilities that will be latent within your suit, and you can augment your suit, you can augment your weapons. You've got a sub-weapon. One of them is just like a little lightsaber. You've got a dash move. I was not crazy about the fact that I had to press the R button, the top trigger button, and the B button to activate my sub-weapon. I wanted to be able to map a specific button on the face of my Nintendo Switch, whether I was playing on the Pro Controller or when I was playing it in handheld mode. I wanted to be able to press just one button and activate my blade weapon or some of the other sub-weapons that you get along the way, but you can't do that. But still, there are quite a few customizable options in there, most of them related to the filtering that you're going to see, so you can make it kind of look completely like a classic Game Boy Advance game, or you can make it look like it's got a little bit sort of cleaned up in the resolution. I chose the first filter. I like that, but then you can also choose the scale of the screen, and it actually looked perfect when it was almost entirely full screen in handheld mode, but I liked it a little bit more windowed with a background kind of frame when I was playing it on my television set. All of those Game Boy Advance games hold up really well, and they looked fantastic. Then, of course, you've also got the ZX games from the DS. You've got ZX and you've got ZX Advent, and these switch up the formula a little bit, as well as the mythology were taking place another couple of hundred years after the events of the Zero games. You can choose to be a female or a male protagonist in these 2 titles. And the gameplay is a little bit more Metroidvania. So you've got, like wide areas to kind of explore, and you still go out on missions, but the map keeps sprawling and you can go into different directions, and you can go into little rooms, and you can switch between a human form and your augmented form. And of course, you can pick up all kinds of power-ups and weapons, and the story twists and turns, and there's all kinds of great surprises in there, but it's a little bit more adventure game-like. And I would say that's true across the Zero games as well. It's not like, the classic Mega Man structure where you just had a boss to get to. It feels a little bit more, definitely more grounded with its storytelling. I mean, by this point in the Mega Man life cycle, we were starting to get, manga, and we were starting to get animated series, and Mega Man was becoming, a real global sensation. And so Capcom and its developers were always kind of thinking of ways to stretch the narrative and stretch the storytelling, and you can see that. There's lots of little cut sequences. There's lots of story bits and dialogue bits between the characters, and there's a lot of content here. There's a lot of game value for the money, and it really holds up. The controls are great, and each one of these games is a tremendously fun experience, especially if you happen to love Mega Man titles like I do.
You traitor! Our future! Yeah!
The one thing that you always have to remember about these classic Mega Man games is that they're very, very difficult, and thankfully Capcom made things easier in a couple of ways. One of them is they've added checkpoints along the way so that if you keep dying in a specific spot, it's not like you have to go right to the beginning of a stage and then start all over again. You can start from the checkpoint, which is great, and you can toggle that on or off. And then there's also it's baby mode, it's easy mode. And I have to admit, I wanted to see areas within these games so I could talk about, the fidelity and the look of them and the bosses and stuff. So I had to toggle on the baby mode. I had to kind of make it a little bit easier for myself because it's so hard. You really have to kind of put your memorization hat on, and you have to kind of figure out the minute-by-minute maneuvers and strategies in order for you to keep going into this game. Now, the game rewards you with being able to do that, and there's also a replay element in honing your skills and going back and doing that. But, I wanted to come back to you guys with some thoughts on the games in totality, and I didn't want to just tell you about the first stage of each one of these games, so I put it on baby mode. But I still had a lot of fun. It's still really, really fun. It's still great to blast at all the bad guys and avoid the spikes and see the imagination and the character design. And that's also exemplified by the gallery mode. When you hop into the gallery mode, you can see all of his concept art, which is great. There's a music player. The only thing that I kind of missed with this was the obsessive sort of museum curation stuff that was a part of the other two Mega Man collections that we had. We had the Mega Man X collection and the classic Mega Man collection. It doesn't go into that amount of detail in this collection, but there's still a ton of gameplay value, and there's still some really nice artwork and some music to explore. What I'm telling you is, it's worth every damn penny, and if you haven't played these games in a while, or you never experienced the Mega Man Zero games or the Mega Man ZX games, you are in for a treat. They're a perfect fit on the Switch, but I think anywhere you're going to play these titles, you're going to find some real fun and some real value there. I'm going to give the Mega Man Zero/ZX Legacy Collection a 9 out of 10.